So, in case you missed it, President-elect Donald Trump has outlined a new deal for Black Americans, because this is the guy we should be trusting with our socioeconomic status.
What do you have to lose? Look, what do you have to lose? You're living in poverty, your schools are no good, you have no jobs, 58% of your youth is unemployed. What the hell do you have to lose?
Right. Well, he's so confident that he outlined his new deal with 10 points, and this sounded familiar to me. So I put it up against the only 10-point program I acknowledge. The Black Panther Party 10-point program, and as I expected, it didn't hold up. The Panthers call for a decent education that teaches us the true nature of America and teaches us our true history. We know that won't happen anytime soon, but under Donald Trump's plan for school choice, our public schools will continue to decline as private, charter, and religious options are boosted. His choice to lead the education department, Betsy DeVos, is a school choice advocate and education activist with a lot of money. Unfortunately, that money was not enough to bring progress to the education system in her home state of Michigan. That goes for public and charter schools. In the Panthers' second and third points of the program, they called for full employment for our community, in our communities, and reparations. President-elect Donald Trump's response to our economic status? Tax reforms. Tax reforms that will bring foreign companies into our blighted American neighborhoods. He also intends on empowering cities and states to get federal aid to help rebuild these communities, along with encouraging small business by converting poverty assistance into microloans. Some of this might sound good, but this brings up a few issues for me. First, this doesn't address the decades on decades of wealth that has been removed from these communities and that is now owed to them. Second, microloans tend to cost more, so in a way this sort of defeats the purpose. Lastly, this guy. Andy Putzer is Trump's choice for Secretary of Labor. He's also a fast food CEO and opposer of the minimum wage. Perfect, just who we need to promote the socioeconomic status of Black people. Where the Black Panther Party called for decent housing, free healthcare, land, and clothing, Donald Trump doesn't even acknowledge within his 10 points the Black community's lack of access to these things. He mentions rebuilding water systems and infrastructure investment, but other than that, there is no mention of housing, land, or healthcare. His choice for Secretary of Health and Human Services, Tom Price, has been strongly opposed to the Affordable Care Act. His choice for the EPA, Scott Pruitt, is a climate change denier and in strong favor of less government regulation. And Trump chose Ben Carson, the neurosurgeon, for the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development because that just makes sense. Donald Trump was the law and order candidate, and he plans on investing more money in local and federal law enforcement. This is in direct opposition to the Panthers' call for an end to police brutality and the murder of Black people, people of color, and other marginalized groups. Rather than investing in restorative justice practices or defunding and ending bias in policing, he's just going to keep doing what's not working. Senator Jeff Sessions was the Attorney General pick and is expected to take hardline stances on immigration, terrorism, crime, guns, and drugs. If we need any more confirmation about the backwards progress being made under a Trump presidency, there you have it. So despite his best efforts to share his plan with Media Takeout, the most visited African American site in the country, Donald Trump has shown us just how much he does not care about Black people. To assume that our problems can be solved by throwing money at them or locking up all the bad guys allows him and many other Americans to ignore the underlying issues with systemic racism and oppression that plague our country. But not that I expected his presidency to address those things anyways. Donald Trump. Fuck Donald Trump. Yeah, nigga, fuck.